The following is a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club.
Hello everybody and welcome to day 4 of the 2022 Fall Chess Classic. We've had a lot of fun here and it looks like maybe things are going to continue to heat up as we've kind of reached that middle portion of the tournament. There's still a lot to be decided and we have a lot of exciting action to go over. My name is Jonathan Schrantz and I'm very happy to be joined here with Grandmaster Miro.
Oh, wow.
How are you feeling about it, just kind of coming into it? We've reached kind of that middle section. Is this kind of where we expect to see... How do players really react in a tournament? Are they still kind of waiting and seeing what's going to happen, or are people going to start making moves?
Yeah, well, that's usually the deciding part. Like you've started well, but if you slow down, some people overpass you, right? But then... Yeah, well, usually, like the one who starts well just goes on, and that's a very kind of middle game of a tournament, right? With 9 rounds, you probably divide it like opening, middle game, end game, and me as the good old grandmaster, I want to say end games are important, but if you win 6 out of 6, then you don't care, right?
Absolutely. So. And let's actually get to know how players are doing today. We have 2 sections, and let's start off with the standings in Group A. We do have a sole leader. His name is Vidit Gujrathi, who is sitting on 2.5 points. And right behind him with 2 points, we have Illia Nyzhnyk and Van Nguyen. And right under that with 1.5, we have Yangyi, Hans Niemann, Grigoriy Oparin, and Nijat Abasov. Below that, Aram Hakobyan, Nikolas Theodorou, and Surya Ganguly. Now, Miro, could you please let us know what's been going on in the B group?
Oh yeah, so I just paid attention. In A group, we had a lot of draws in the last round.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so round 3 result is the first thing I see. Not a single draw in the B group.
And
I'll start from the kind of upside down. So Arman Mikaelyan still yet to score his first half a point. Couple of players on half a point. Cristian Chirila still can find his top form. And it goes on, and then 2.5 enough for a lead in the A group, but here it only makes you tied for the second, not even a clear second. So tied for the second, we have 2 US representatives, Christopher Yu and Alex Lenderman, and Raunak Sadhwani not only has 3 out of 3, but he said in an interview, "I'm looking for the next 6 games." And
that's exactly right.
He did not specifically mention I want to win 6 games, but he implied this.
Absolutely, and he said even too that he's like, I've played 2 good games. He's won 3. Yeah, he's like, I've played 2 good games in a row. So we'll see what happens with Raunak Sadhwani as we proceed into that. But first, let's get to know our tournament. This is the format for today's event. This is 2 10-player round robins. We got the A group and the B group. This is a 90-minute tournament for the first 40 minutes, for the first 40 moves. After that, you get 30 minutes for the rest of the game, and all throughout you'll be receiving that 30-second increment. So that's what we got going on. Now, Miro, could you please let us know about the schedule? And pay attention here, chat. Pay attention. This is going to be an important day to listen to the schedule.
Well, tomorrow's going to be an important day.
Absolutely.
Right?
Let us know why.
Each round starts 1 p.m. as you can see on your screen, except for the last one, which starts 2 hours earlier. Because in case of a playoff, if 2 players are tied for the first, I believe that's the only case where playoff happens, so 2 or more players tied for the first, then the playoff happens the same day, 10th of November, 5 p.m. White is an important day. We do adjust to, what's it called?
Yeah, daylight savings.
Daylight savings.
So it's going to feel like the round is starting an hour later. It'll be the same time, but it'll be Central Standard Time. So it's going to feel like it's an hour later than you're currently watching it right now. So pay attention. I know we are here on Twitch. We're here on YouTube. We're paying attention. And you got to pay attention, okay? Such sweet thunder. I see what you're saying, but you got to pay attention to the time control difference, to the daylight savings, because it's going to be happening. And this is also a great time to let you know that if you do want to get involved and you want to follow us on social media, please make sure to use the hashtag Fall Chess Classic and watch all of the games live on uschesschamps.com. Now, if you do support our stream, if you're watching on Twitch and you give bits or any donations, anything like that, all of that money is going to an excellent cause because you are helping us. Every $75 that we receive will go to get kids that otherwise might not be able to have chess programming, a full semester of chess programming in their school. So it's something like 10 weeks with a grandmaster teaching some very high-level chess to kids. So thank you so much to anybody that's been gifting in any meaningful way. Now, With all of that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at the pairings for Group A. Today, we will be seeing Grigoriy Oparin going up against Nijat Abasov. Surya Ganguly is going up against Nikolas Theodorou. Vidit Gujrathi is going up against Yangyi. We got two of the highest rated players going up against each other. We also have Illia Nyzhnyk going up against Aram Hakobyan. And of course, Niemann going up against Van Nguyen. What are you looking forward to seeing in this game, Miro?
All right. Well, Hans, we expect him to score, right? I mean, that's basically, that's why this tournament happens. Everyone eyes on Hans and how he plays. So far, 3 quiet draws. One win, by the way, won a nice game yesterday. So, well, let's see. So Hans with the white pieces, it was, well, kind of jumping a bit ahead. I want to, spoiler, it was a Joker piano, and I'm somewhat disappointed. Yeah,
absolutely.
I was hoping for the King's Gambit. Yeah.
But it still could be something interesting. I mean, it's still Joker pianos. Sure, they start off quiet, but sometimes you
absolutely.
See
so current position at least is not symmetrical. I mean, that's already a big achievement. We could quickly run through this game.
Let's go ahead and get from the start and just see what's happening.
Just to see what happened. So that's what we call a Joker piano, right? And I think I've mentioned that here White actually has kind of few moves. So Castle is considered somewhat clever against some moves. Let's say Fabi played it against Carlsen. Carlsen played it himself against Wesley Saucer.
Sure, how bad could castling be?
Knight to f6, d3, d6, c3, but we end up in the same position anyway.
Sure.
We end up in the same position anyway. h7, h6, and I think it's kind of new to us because we've seen on a couple of occasions in the B tournament, Denis Kadric was playing this early bishop g5 development, right? So here, no bishop g5 for you, h7, h6 played, rook to e1, and once again, we are in familiar territory. 3 games of Magnus Carlsen, I can see there are possibly more. So Magnus himself goes for this line, a7,
incredibly
a5.
logical so far.
Knight to d2, and I think we were talking, so there are options of a6 or a5. Yeah, you want to create the square for this bishop on a7. So a5 is kind of a modern take on this one. Knight f1. White actually goes with something pretty standard. So the knight headed toward g3. Rook b1 though. Okay, Hans knows something apparently. Bishop e6, and once again I'll repeat myself that this exchange with black controlling the space on the queen side is not considered to be any dangers. So black can save a tempo.
Would you say that it's not dangerous, or is this actually like favorable for black?
Not really favorable. No, the point is like with pawn on a6 and a4, b4, black in order to play bishop e6 very often goes rook e8 first to capture with the piece, right? So it doesn't want to double the pawns.
All right, a very important rule there.
Like he spent more time on the queen side, but this allows him to kind of spare a tempo on rook e8. Bishop to e6, b4 played by Hans. Captures here, bishop b6, once again one of those clever moves that I failed to understand. Knight e3, queen d7, and there is more to that because queen d7, right? Bishop takes and still takes with the pawn.
All right.
Okay, so apparently that's something very clever. b4 and black captures on e3. And then, kind of second guessing, perhaps white should have started with knight c4 because, that's basically what you're looking for, to play b4, knight c4, b5, something like that. Right, so b4 allows black to capture on e3, go b5, and he's probably fine for now. h3, rook a3, and here we go. And that's sort of a pattern in Hans's games, right?
What have you
noticed? The open file, and his opponent has both rooks on that, and Hans kind of avoids, like...
We've seen the queen, this queen always gets attacked by rooks, and the queen dances
rook a2,
around for a little bit.
Rook a3, so. a4, but this time, he uses this moment. Black wants to bring the knight to b5, which is a nice square, right? Stops the b pawn, protects the c7 pawn, but this kind of breaks connection between the rooks. And Hans uses this to. Oh no, he didn't. I actually thought he already played rook a1. No, pardon me. So knight a7, that's the current position, with Hans to move.
So, it's here to play. And Miro, I don't know how much you've paid attention, I guess, to Hans Niemann's career, or how much you've watched him before maybe the Sinkfield Cup, but, is he just a regular, boring grandmaster? He's one of these guys. What's going on?
That's the feeling, that, when
Give us something, Hans.
We won against when he won against Magnus, and you know all this drama started, and you expect Hans whenever he plays to come up with something brilliant.
Absolutely.
and then yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not brilliant, but it's way too solid to my liking, right? Still. The game's
so we got
on.
this one, and I guess we'll see what happens here. I mean, there still is a lot of life. It is good to see he's not trading stuff. We do still have a lot to pay attention to here, but we also have a completely new, other section. So let's also go ahead and take a look at who's playing this time in the B section. All right, in the B section, we have Cristian Chirila today going up against Akshat Chandra. Arman Mikaelyan is going up against Gergely Kantor. Brandon Jacobson is going up against Alex Lenderman. Tigran Harutyunyan is going up against Denis Kadric. And our game of the day is going to be Christopher Yu going up against our sole leader, Raunak Sadhwani. This is a very important game for both of these players. And potentially, if Sadhwani somehow with the black pieces is able to capitalize on this, he might be looking at his 4th win in a row. Miro, what can you tell us about this game?
Well, so the current position, I actually like it for Raunak. He's an exchange up, and White, well, kind of checking 10 moves ago, 5 moves ago, White has sacrificed this exchange. It's not that he lost an exchange. He has sacrificed it. He was hoping for, you know, some sort of compensation attack, but it seems that Black managed to, you know, to neutralize all the pressure, and now seemingly enjoys an extra exchange. Okay, still not
How
perfectly.
exactly did we get here? I'd love to see this exchange sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely.
To see exactly
Let's go. Yeah, once again, let's go
place.
from the start. So that's knight f3 is a very solid move, for as far as I know, and then b4.
All right. Okay.
And that's well, that move exists. It was well played on the very top level by Aronian.
There you go.
Kramnik and the likes,
Okay.
and before that it was played on a very high level by Alekain himself. So it's actually a very, very long, very, very old line.
Perfect.
And the main line would actually go like f6, and then Black tries to get e5, and White goes c5, you know, to play e3 and try to use the diagonal.
Okay.
Nothing of that nature has happened. Black actually played c5, excepting playing the Benko with a tempo down, which is interesting, right? It's a Benko with a tempo down, Benko gambit. Yeah, bishop to b2, knight f6, g3, bishop g2. Well, everything fairly logical. Still some games of say very high-rated players. The one that I can see, Aronian Matlakov went this way, and then the independent move, knight a5. So perhaps something else was played in those games. Queen a4, well, some naughty little tricks with b6 now, knight d7, a6, knight a3. Well, it's a very original opening line, I want to say.
Yeah, which
Queen
is very
b8.
good to see.
Yep, castles. e4. Okay, so Black goes with e4, and when and if you take it, he was planning to go knight b6, tackle the queen, and also take the c4 pawn.
Very
so
nice.
White goes over there, goes to c2 in White's black to take with the pawn, because
okay, so here's where we see it.
yeah, it's a very interesting kind of strange, I want to say, position where it appears that Black has the initiative. Okay, he played a couple of active moves, right?
Yeah.
But it's at the same time, it's Black who's undeveloped, right? The queen's on b8, the rook's on e8. So I see the following exchange sacrifice as a very logical follow-up from White. Because you exchange the pieces, or rather, well, exchange your rook for a knight. Yeah, the active guy, the knight on e5, right?
Sure, absolutely.
And yeah, and what happens,
it doesn't take on h7, I guess.
yeah, he doesn't take on h7, which actually was quite attractive, I believe.
Okay. Because the bishop might get trapped, but maybe even still.
The bishop might get trapped, but at the same time, that trapping the bishop involves g6,
Correct,
and that kind of opens the diagonal. So that's
a lot of wild things could have happened, but that's not what our tournament leader was, or that's not what Christopher Yu decided to do.
Yeah. So anyway, but rook captures perhaps as well, like forces Black to do something, because if you just care about the h7 pawn and go, I don't know, h6 or g6, then White takes, and then like too much of initiative, right? The e file plays its role. The bishop opens. So Black actually comes up with an intermezzo, which is d3.
Okay, very clever.
So he gives the pawn, well, with a tempo, but at least the e file is blocked, right? So the rook is not in the game. Bishop c3, knight c6, and it is still very attractive for white in my opinion, but then this is somewhere here, white perhaps lost thread a little bit. So knight b4, he captured on b4, went knight f3, knight d4, still good, still solid, but now without the dark square bishop, at least black's king is safe for now. So that's where we've gotten rook d7, rook d1, queen d1, and here we are. Yeah, here we are. So if only this knight was able to say go to f4 and to g6 potentially, maybe that's what he has to consider anyway.
Interesting. So yeah, definitely it looks potentially pretty good for our tournament leader, trying to get that 4th win. It's looking particularly good for black, but there's still a lot of game to go, so we'll see what happens in this one. And with that, why don't we just go ahead and kind of look around the horn? Miro, is there anything else that kind of you got your eyes on?
Yeah, well, let's just try. Okay. First of all, we have first result in the A group.
Wonderful.
And guess what? What's the popular result
group?
in the A group?
Draw.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Here you have it. Illia Nyzhnyk and
okay.
Aram Hakobyan.
So
there was a position at some point. I was checking what's going on, and there was a position which looked worrisome for white.
Okay.
But perhaps nothing serious was happening there. So I don't even know how to call it. It's probably, if you think Philidor defense with colors reversed, or Pierce defense with colors reversed.
Sure.
Yeah, so basically
it's one of these.
white kind of trying to play the setup normally black's going for, but have an extra tempo. So knight to c3, knight e7, bishop g5, trying to provoke f6, no such luck. Okay, knight to f5. Bishop a3. Yeah, Illia, someone should tell him that if you're planning to fianchetto the
Was there a faster way?
There is a faster way. Yeah, you just can go b3 bishop.
It's not as subtle though. They'll see it coming.
No, but anyway, yeah, of course we are making fun here, but yeah, you can imagine this should not be advantageous for white if you spend.
And I don't think Ilya's style is necessarily to seek like a big advantage. I think he wants a position where you can like play and play. I think that's just kind of his style. You don't need to know too much theory. You just get some position, and then he can calculate pretty well. As I think his, I think that's his MO.
Bishop h3. Oh yeah, and something like that I've seen. I was honestly quite worried. So knight to e5, queen d1.
Okay.
And here black could have considered some g5, g4.
Sure, that could be very
dangerous. Would be annoying, yeah. So, and after c5, white's just in time. So f4, if knight g4, yeah, it is kind of move forward, but it's not that scary, I believe, because queen d2, or queen f3 rather. Queen f3, queen g2, trade the queens. Yeah. Knight from f1 does a very good job of protecting both h2 and e3. Right, so black just returned back, and this is where, as we were discussing, like you have an open file, you have two grandmasters playing.
Yep, they find the way.
Be sure they'll just trade everything on the open file, and that's exactly what happened. The rook e1, and black kind of has a bit more space, but apparently not enough. Yeah, not enough. To h4, and they've agreed to draw in a few more moves. Bishop d2.
Wonderful.
That was it.
Then you do need to make either, if you don't repeat, you do need to make it to move 40 in order to offer a draw. And it looks like it was move 40.
Yeah, that was move 45. They
agreed.
Actually overdid it.
At move 45. And that will bring Illia now to 2.5 out of 4 points. He was coming in with 2 points.
Still on +1.
Temporarily tied with our leader, who is Vidit. We might want to check out his game to see what's going on there. We got a major matchup.
Yeah, that one is...
This is our two heavy hitters, the two top-rated players in the A section, Vidit and Yangyi. What's going on here?
Yeah, here... The game started as the Petrov defense with knight f6, right? So d4 is, well, not the most popular, but once again, I mean, you check the names of the top players who played it recently. Yeah. I mean, Carlson Nepomniachtchi, Wesley So with Caruana, Nepomniachtchi with Aronian, So with Nepomniachtchi, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So basically, top 10 played this position with both colors.
What are the chances we get like a Scotch Gambit here? What are the chances? None?
Nah.
All right. Fair enough.
Knight captures, bishop d3. Yeah, now you can see this knight c6 is suggested. That the first time I've seen knight c6 move. It looks like
you don't
somebody confused, the moves order just blundered the piece, right? But
you don't know this one.
No, I do. It was not played. No, actually, it is considered nowadays like probably the main line.
Yeah.
But anyway, nothing's wrong with
All right,
good
I was
old
hoping to see our
D5.
first like major gambit of the tournament, but no such luck.
Yeah, knight e5 pawn takes, knight to c5, bishop e2. Well, that's known to be like very, very solid line for black. Bishop to g4, and that's kind of a little bit sad, but what to do, right? Ideally, you want to use this bishop to win few tempi by going f4, g4, f5,
Sure.
but
Not
perhaps
today.
it just doesn't work. Yeah, so if you have to trade the light square bishop, apparently black is just absolutely fine. Knight on e6, g6, castles, a4. Okay, grabbing some space here. Queen e3, and black goes g5 to stop f4. Yeah, what's interesting, I think like when you learn chess and at some very early stage, you are taught that, okay, you castle opposite sides and then you're supposed to push the pawns all the time, yeah, and then you don't care about anything else. And it's interesting to say, yes, right, they do push the pawns, like A and G pawn, but everything still is through the center. Like that's important, to control the center and so on. So that's another dimension, another installation of this attack against the king. Yeah. So queen to f5, queen d7 happened, rook e3, and here we go. It's an endgame, 2 Grandmasters. I have bad feelings about this one.
Yeah. But this is the A group. That's what we're signed up for. And you know what? That's why we also have a B group, so we can see exciting games. Is there anything going on in the B group that we should have a look at? Show me something good.
Yeah, the B group. Yeah, let's try. Maybe something good is what we've looked at already, but yeah, let's check those big group games one by one. And this is once again Cristian Chirila. 19 moves this time, but he's true to himself. He's in a time trouble. I mean,
so these guys are both like at like 15 minutes, and they've 19 moves.
Yeah,
they haven't even made half of their moves to get to the time control.
But wait a second, but that's a huge improvement because a couple of days ago he had like 5 minutes after 11 moves. So
all right, yeah. So there's a bright side.
Yeah, being out of shape, or rather not having enough practice, that usually has this effect that you tend to double check yourself, not to believe yourself. And
what's Akshat's excuse?
This I don't really know. Yeah, but with Cristian, I mean, not only he was not playing, but he was also like working on chess a lot, right? So there was commentary, but also like trainings.
Absolutely.
So that's the worst part, James, because training
training other people is not good for your chess.
Is not good for your practical chess. So you learn like a lot of openings, you understand perhaps the positions better, but when you are back to the board, training with grandmasters, with good players, usually means what? Preparing the openings, right?
Sure.
So you've prepared the openings, and then you develop this pattern of, okay, I have a good position after 10 moves, next task. So you're not interested to play your good positions. I mean, that's the problem when you're a coach.
And do you think there's also, because you're doing it for somebody else, it's not something you're technically implementing?
I'm really familiar with this thing that it seems, I've done such a lot of opening research. I can play everything, but you can't play anything because you don't remember a single.
I guess I would have thought that it would be the opposite in the sense that, like, okay, I do, I've streamed for chess, I've made like YouTube videos, and that is very helpful. But I guess at the same time, I'm also doing things that like directly benefit me, and it's something that would be like that experience kind of like helps me, like taping yourself talking about chess. That's helpful.
Could be.
I'm wondering if it's more you're helping somebody else specifically that it doesn't help you as much.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid the thing is like when you are not an active player on a constant basis, like all the time, you tend to take this one like less responsibilities. I found it, I've analyzed it. Should I remember it or kind of memorize it? Not really, I will not play it.
Sure,
so you have tons of opening analysis on your laptop and you don't remember a thing. Okay, anyway. Anyway, back to reality. So that was a French defense, I
Okay.
reckon. Not really. It was the Sicilian, in fact.
Right.
So the structure looks like a French defense. So it was the Sicilian, and I have difficulties naming this one. I mean, Khan, Polsen, Taimanov,
they're all kind of
something,
very similar.
something. So F4 and then D5, E5, knight D7. And I wonder if it's just kind of a straight transposition into the French,
It
which
looks
it,
very
which
much
it
like a
might be, which it might be. So yes, castles H4, and that's usually. It's not that white is planning to like push both pawns and open the files because nobody's going to give you that much time. So, but H4 is very useful move anyway because sometimes Rook will join like this or to G3 as an A game, I believe. So. Trade here, knight e2, a5, yeah, logical, once again, a5, b4, develop that French bishop, which, well, technically is a Sicilian bishop, but still bad on c8. Rook to g3, bishop a6, f5. That's usually how white goes about this position. E takes, bishop captures, queen captures, and knight to d4.
All right.
So now he finally has a threat, our boy Cristian. E6, pawn takes, rook to g7.
Yeah.
That's what we are planning.
All right.
That's what we are planning. Let's see what Chandra has to say. Yeah, that's one exciting position.
This is one of the more interesting games in my mind, I guess. Just because we've sacked a pawn, there is this attack. So far, I mean, we've seen with maybe one exception in most of these games, like whoever's attacking, the defender seems to have the advantage. Whoever's defending seems to actually just defend, to be like a pawn up and they win. But I don't know. This one looks dangerous. The rook looks really strong. There's going to be all sorts of tactics on the g7 square. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how this one transpires.
Yep.
And with no time, why don't you just throw in that they got to make all these moves in just a couple minutes each? So we'll see what happens here. This is what I'm looking forward to.
That probably will be a very exciting game. Then the very next one, Mikaelyan against Kantor. Not as thrilling because it's an endgame. And that's, yeah, in case you guys were wondering what the opening there was, that's something that is played by Wesley So, among others, played a lot. I mean, I believe Wesley is like, he simply solved this endgame, if I'm allowed to say. So he makes a draw against literally everyone. I believe he could draw a machine in this one. Castles, yeah, bishop c4, knight to e5. Okay. Yeah, point being, clever. If you capture, it's a check and takes on f2. Okay.
Very nice.
Okay. Knight e5, check over here. Captures on f6, captures on e4. Well, perhaps white has slightly better structure, but materials equal, opposite colored bishops. Black has quite a lot of room to work with, let's say. Yeah, I'm allowed to lose a pawn, trade the knight, trade couple of rooks, still the position would be draw. Okay, and so they continue playing, and I don't see white losing this one. So good news for Mikaelyan that he's finally gonna get something on the board.
Yeah,
on the scoreboard, that is. Yeah,
yep. It's good to see everybody getting on the board at least a little bit here. So that's what we got going on there.
Then we have Brendan Jacobson against Alexander Lenderman, and Lenderman has won an exchange. Oh, wow.
Okay.
27 moves into the game. Brandon is down to 2 minutes. I don't know what happens with Brandon. But he seems to be one of those people who are big fans of time troubles.
All right, let's see what happens.
All right, Queen's Gambit accepted, e3, e6, c5, a6, well, everything's solid, and this is kind of the first crossroad where you have all those like various moves, like bishop b3, some boring people, me included, play dc5, just opt for an endgame. b3 is also a move, of course. b3, b6, bishop a3, though, is something that you would probably not expect. Like the bishop b2 looks much more, I don't know, appealing. d5, well, it happens to be that it is a theory played by some big names, like Mamedyarov Aronian, for instance, had this position. And they are following this Mamedyarov Aronian game disappeared, so apparently Mamedyarov played something else, but we still have like Lequan Guillem Aronian. So Aronian plays this line with black all the time, it turns out. And bishop c4 was a new
You can
move.
see the time on the clock too. So Brandon has spent 30 minutes at this point. This is how he
Oh,
started
yeah.
getting in trouble. His opponent is up 4 minutes from when he started. So
Right. So
we
for
can see
Lenderman,
Lenderman knew everything here.
Nothing was a surprise. He had b5 castles. Well, it does look pretty standard, to be honest, for this kind of thing.
But it also just kind of looks like a variation where it would be like white kind of doing the surprise on black, but somehow it feels like black knew all of the moves maybe better than Brandon Jacobson. Or maybe he's just taking a little bit of time. Who really knows?
And yeah, and this c4 is probably a strong move. Feels like a strong move if it works tactically, and well, knowing how the game develops, apparently it does. Yeah, bishop b2, bishop to b7. So white was not inclined to take with the bishop on c4 because some pins, right?
Sure, yeah, that could be very
Rook
dangerous.
c8, rook to b1, bishop c5, and here Brandon decided to capture on f6, capture on c4.
Okay.
Queen e7. Not sure what queen e7 is about. Okay, queen b2, bishop takes e4, and white couldn't come up with anything better than basically surrendering the exchange. So he captured on b6, captured on a6. Oh, wait a sec. Was he forced though? He could, now that I see it, he could move the rook to c1 and perhaps be slightly worse because of the kind of pair of bishops and f2 being weak. So it might have been that he blundered after bishop a6, rook b8. He possibly blundered the fact that the rook's hanging and also bishop f2 is the no. What am I saying? Like I really wanted to, make a case that there was a blunder.
There's queen takes
rook
f2. Is
b,
the issue.
rook b to e1. So there is no bishop f2. But could it be that you don't have a move with the rook? I don't know about this point. Okay, rook e1 was played. Bishop a5. Lenderman takes on e1. Goes queen f6. Queen e4. Queen a6. And I'm afraid Brandon is going down in this one. Yes, he has one pawn for an exchange, but it's a knight and not the bishop, right? So say with light square bishop somewhere on b5, so you anchor the pawn, and also there is quite a lot of positions when you go bishop against the rook on one wing, 3 versus 3, or rather 2 versus 2, and be a known fortress. With knight, not so many. So I think black's chances are very
Is this
high.
now just like actually like a relatively simple conversion? Is this just winning for black, or is this still going to be a challenge?
I would think so. So black just has to be like not even like utmost precise, but just don't do anything stupid.
Sure.
Don't do anything
It's always
stupid.
rule number one.
Trade the queens, trade a pair of rooks, win the a4 pawn, and win 3 versus 3. That should be okay. If not trivial, not very hard.
Okay, so we'll see if black here, Lenderman, is able to convert this one. That's what we're waiting to see. What else do we got on the agenda?
Yeah, well, let's finish with the B group anyway. So we have one more game. Denis Kadric with black against Tigran Harutyunyan. And this, I'm guessing, looks like a King's Indian. Let's find out.
All right.
Well, it wasn't exactly the King's Indian, but it transposed it to...
Okay.
Yeah, so it started like e5, e4. And funny enough, in those old encyclopedias, I'm actually not sure if it's correct, but it was named the Ukrainian variation.
When
by
they
the
play
way,
C6.
like when you put the bishop on e7, go c6 and so on. G6, bishop e2, bishop g7 leads to the King's Indian with knight b8 to d7 move, right?
Okay.
Bishop e3, c7, c6, and white traded on a5, which is usually not considered to be anything dangerous. Queen d6, but queen quite easily gets evicted from here. Bishop f8, queen c7. Looks very comfortable for black if you ask me. Knight c5, and eventually black is trying to get to this d4 square, so that's the difference, right? The open file, well, white committed the pawns to c4 and e4, so there is no pawn that will potentially guard d4 square. While black still has, quite conveniently, his pawn on c6, so d5 square is controlled. Now, a very interesting trade. I mean, well, don't want to say scandalous, but like voluntarily taking the knight with,
really
with the
doesn't
dark
want to
square.
see it landing on the d4 square.
Yeah, like trading the knight with the dark square bishop and knowing that your d4 is kind of a weak spot, but perhaps some concrete calculations. So knight a4, bishop doesn't even move. Okay, knight d2, bishop e6, knight b3. And so he blocks it. Right, so white's idea was, yeah, push the bishop to, say, a7, and then I go c5. The bishop is not great. Okay, black trades, go here and gets rook d4. That's, once again, that's a very standard idea for the King's Indian. Sometimes even sacrificing the pawn, but then the bishop goes to b8 and something starts to happen on this diagonal, and the knight on a4 will be somewhat offside.
Interesting.
White goes bishop f3, queen e5, rook d1, rook d8, b4, traded, rook d7, protected the pawn, king g7. Okay, this is somewhat like slowish to my taste, but let's see. Queen d3, check on h2. That's getting like quite close. Bishop e5.
That surprised you, the check?
No. I'm surprised that white allowed the check.
Okay. He's just saying that he's totally safe. You can check me again. I go to e2.
Yeah. Is it though?
Was there a good way to prevent it?
Yeah, he probably didn't want to play g3 anywhere because of actually some h5, h4 business, or if you go h4, then perhaps g5 happens. Anyway,
okay.
Bishop b5, traded, h4. White is not in rush to return with the king. So now this knight goes to c7, and I'm guessing not even e6, but b5, c3. So that's an interesting route. And the bishop on f3 is not a happy animal. So yeah, if any side's better, it's black perhaps.
Oh, very interesting.
And yeah, let me.
Oh, he couldn't help himself. He had to take a peek.
Check. Yeah, black is better, but
right.
not much. So finally, Miro, spot on analysis.
Wonderful. So that's what's going on here in our game. Denis Kadric with a small advantage against Tigran Harutyunyan.
Yeah, and I'm back to the A section because
right.
there are games that we did not cover. Ganguly against Theodorou, it's already an end game, opposite colored bishops, even amount of pawns, but white is still trying. That was a very original opening here. As much as it goes for Sicilian Alapin, knight f3, original in a way that black played c4 line, which used to be topical at some point, but I think nowadays that there are kind of more reliable ways to play for black anyway.
Okay.
So castles, bishop g4, rook to e1, queen to e2, e5, knight a3, and yeah, once again, I find it amazing that, we teach the beginners, the players who only starting, and we teach them try to take the control over the center, right? Develop your pieces. Do not go with the knight on the edge of the board. And then you see two grandmasters playing it. The guy has the bishop on c1. Knight a3.
And it's not even that obvious how that bishop gets into the game.
Yeah, knight a3 is a strong move, and people looking in your eyes and asking, okay, so that means you teach me the way not to become a grandmaster. Because that's obviously the grandmaster play. G6. Black, I don't know if he could, probably he could defend the c4 pawn somehow, but he decided to sacrifice it because he has this capture. Goes f5 and was hoping to use the unsafe position of the white king. Bishop goes to a4. That's amazing. I said like using the position, that unsafe position of the king, and then he trades the queens immediately. Very logical. Rook to d3, bishop c4. What's that? Black doesn't take, of course. Who needs this pawn anyway? d4, bishop g7. Yeah, well, here I kind of do understand that capturing, perhaps, with some checks on this e-file, or bishop f4 first. Yeah, perhaps bishop f4 is very annoying. Because now rook's attacked, after rook d8 there is bishop e6. Yeah, so that's the reason he cannot take on d4.
So white does somehow find a way to play d4, which is, you need to. You got to find a way, and you found a good solution, I guess.
King g2 is a very relaxed move. Okay, bishop b5, finally. Bishop b5 actually allows him to capture, because now rook f6, and g5, and trade, and rook e6. So black hopeful to win the pawn back. Check. Rook c5, not so fast, says Ganguly. Here, f4.
All right.
And after this capture, king f3. So white intends to capture both pawns. Rook c4, and this is where Ganguly thinking. Theodorou is down to 5 minutes only, by the way.
Sure.
It's move 32, so not such a terrible time trouble, but still, yeah. Yeah, what's the plan after rook b or bishop b3? Not really so sure, because I mean, if you leave the fourth rank,
then
I believe king just takes, protects the e5 pawn. This one's hanging, but after bishop b3, if you do like rook b4, then there is a check, and I think this is also very serious. Check, king c7, and it's a lot of options for white. I mean, the straightforward, take the rook, he takes your rook, and then, I don't know, bishop f5. You can try some intermezzos like this, and God knows what's going on. The bishop's hanging, you know, the rook's hanging. Rook e7, there are checks from various angles, like rook c1, there is e6.
Absolutely.
So I'm worried about black's position.
Yeah, I think as soon as that e-pawn, if it can ever get that e-pawn moving, then you're going to have something good. So I'm not sure exactly how black will ultimately stop it. Like, it looks kind of like the pawn is stopped, like right now when you just kind of first see this position. But I think it's you kind of, as we've going through the lines a little bit, it's like somehow either the king is coming up and taking the f-pawn, or, you know.
Well, and Ganguly actually comes, look, Ganguly comes with a very, very interesting move. I mean, the one that is hard to, the one that is hard to consider is b3, but it's apparently very clever.
Okay.
Because now remaining on b4 is not an option at all, because it's two checks and the bishop is gone.
Bishop very well
so that
placed
means,
on a4
yeah, that means you have to leave, and in that case, king e4 is not yet an option, but what he could do is bishop to d7, and then
finding another
God knows, maybe just take this guy, right? And once again attack the rook, and then more checks, and then e6. Yeah.
The e-pawn is definitely going to get rolling here at some moment. So this is looking very good for Surya Ganguly.
Yeah, absolutely. So one more game, Oparin versus Abasov. Oparin's up a pawn. Okay.
All right.
Okay, up a pawn, move 32. Both once again down to 10 minutes. So here we had what's it called? Semi-Slav. E3, knight b to d7, bishop d3. The so-called Miran variation.
Okay, this gets very sharp very quick. This one could be fun.
Yeah, b5. And yeah, well, the sharpest one is the one that was played in Kramnik Anand match, right?
Yeah,
so
the impossible
A6,
one.
and then
some c5 when it doesn't look like
crazy.
You can do it. Yeah.
Here it's kind of a more not even positional, but black tries to control the risk, so to speak. So bishop b7, trade happens. Bishop e7, a3, a5, e4. So white is slightly, has slightly more space, but black is planning to equalize with c5. That's what he does. c5, rook to d1, and c4, interestingly, was played. So whenever you take c4, e4 is hanging, right? So bishop b1. And usually when I see something like this, I'm scared that my opponent's going to play b3 and these things will never come to life. But yeah, but that's not the case, apparently. So what happened was rook c8, then white at least has the time to trade on b4, so rook plays from the initial square. Rook a7, okay, and then we are talking intermezzos, right? So maybe knight d7.
d7 is really interesting.
Yeah, like rook a7 is annoying, right?
I guess my general feeling in these kinds of positions with black is to like never give that dark squared bishop away. He's such a great defender of everything, but here we see black just kind of voluntarily simplifying the position. So we'll see how this works. Okay,
so he captures g5, captures here, and d5. So white starts to play like in a very energetic manner.
Yeah.
E takes. So d6 apparently is a huge threat. Some bishop f5 is there, even bishop h7 at times. Bishop f5, rook c7. Traded, captured.
They found all the trades.
No romantics allowed. Yeah, I was thinking of some bishop h7, knight g5.
No, they found all the trades.
But yeah, but white's pawn up and gets the knight on c4, king on g2, and like all the what's the word, solidifying moves, like G3,
just
King
kinda
G2, a
consolidating the
man of
position.
culture, you know, like B3 so that the knight's not hanging.
Yeah, you want to chill and optimize before you decide to do anything else, huh?
And here he all of a sudden goes D6 because it's probably not that hard to calculate that if you capture F2, it's D7, rook goes, and queen to E4. Threatening
Very
this,
nice.
right? Threatening
Very
this.
good
Rook
move.
D7 still a check and capture, and yeah, black is in a huge trouble. Okay, and no, well, it actually did happen.
Okay.
D7 here, knight E5, right?
Okay, all this happened.
Knight E5, bishop B6, but there must be still white must be winning.
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
Knight C6, or to start with queen
Some way
D5,
of
maybe
attacking
maybe
the
starting
F-pawn.
with queen D5 just wins on the spot because
Yeah.
Knight C6 is the thing, F7's hanging, and
Beautiful for white.
Yep.
Very, very, very nice for white.
So Oparin's on the way of winning his his first. Is it his? Yeah, it'd be his first win in this
yeah,
tournament.
he's been sitting on 1.5 points, so this
Speaking-
could potentially bring him up to 2.5 out of 4.
Yeah, speaking of first wins in the tournament, is Hans.
Let's go.
Does he have any chance? Okay, so something has changed for sure.
Sure, yeah, let's.
That's white pawn on E6. Last
Yeah,
time
a
we
lot has
checked,
changed.
it was black pawn on E6.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yes, after knight A7, indeed rook A1 happened.
Okay.
Knight B5 traded a pair of rooks. Queen to C2. Rook A3. Queen to C. Yeah. I was kind of trying to hype up this Queen C2. Yeah, the move is a tempo that the fact he just repeats. Then goes back to C1. Black is kind of lost a little bit, I suspect, because yeah, like moving the rook to A3 and back to A4 is not, well, doesn't look all that productive if you ask me. King H2.
So I guess, I mean, he's not making any progress, but I guess he's saying, what is white going to do? I
yeah,
guess that's the argument.
what you're doing. Yeah, exactly. D4 and
Okay,
could
complicated.
could it be that black kind of went a little bit over optimistic with capturing this pawn?
Okay.
I guess
pawn was
I guess
hanging.
this wasn't any kind of was not concerning, right? But he could possibly miss D5, and then if you take
so you
it's a
can't
check and the
take-
knight's gone,
Wow. Okay.
and the knight is attacked, and when he goes to F6, that's what he done. Yeah, white captures,
So that's
and
how
you
white
actually
got that sneaky pawn in there.
yeah, and you still have to defend the B5 knight. So Queen E8, and now Hans with 10 minutes on the clock on move 33. So he's to play his move 34, looking for the way to kind of add something, like the knight on F5. Just bring any piece, and it'd be winning.
Huh. It looks like a really strong pawn on D6.
Yeah,
You can
it
imagine
does.
a pawn, gets behind enemy lines, it might be possible to just capture it. Doesn't feel like that's going to be the case. It feels like it might actually be disrupting all of the harmony
Yeah,
in
it
black's
does.
position.
Well, E7 is what he plays.
All right.
Okay, so E7, if king goes away, he can actually enter with the queen one of the ways. Like just go Queen E6.
Sure.
And if you play D5, I'm guessing, like Queen C5's fine, but Queen C6 might be even better because, like, applying pressure here, the pawn can't be taken because the knight's hanging.
And
Well,
if they capture the queen and play King F7?
yeah, that'd be sad, but maybe not really. Yeah, Bishop C5
yeah,
and
okay.
E5 is once again it's problematic to defend E5. You probably still can
Sure, yeah.
do this, but I don't know. The other line would be Knight E5 simply, and then another check, and because the material is still equal, right? And
Sure.
then there is no argument why it does have a very strong kind of initiative, at the very least. So say King E8, King D8, and some Bishop F8 start tackling these guys. So yeah,
So where are they in the current position? I want to just stay here for
E7
just a second and
E7
get to know this
played,
position a little bit if
E7
we can.
played, yeah, and one win went with King H7. So that's the one. So he decided D5 is too risky.
And Queen E6 is
Yeah,
what you
Queen
were
E6
kind of
is what
suggesting.
what we are thinking. Yeah, I mean technically E7 is not
Right,
technically,
could you start
but
with
it's
Knight
not
H4
it's
or
not,
some other, I don't know what the
yeah,
other
it's
move
not
is.
hanging. You can play Knight H4. You can, well, I don't know. Consider,
I don't know what the other move is, but
consider, yeah, Knight H4 is not bad. No, but yeah, but Bishop Sorry, queen e6 is also kind of, well, maybe having some like bishop h6 ideas.
Yeah,
looks really scary.
All right, can we actually, we're obviously going to come right back to this one. We're getting excited, but let's take a quick peek at the Ganguly game. I've heard that we have a little bit of excitement in that game as well.
Yeah, he's just winning.
All
yes,
right.
so this
I see
b3,
one side with the bishop.
Look, b3 proved to be very clever. So b3, rook to c2, and it wasn't even the line that I've suggested.
Sure,
it was
but
just
same
rook
idea.
d8 check, and if you go to c7, you lose the bishop, so you have to block, trade. King takes f4.
Sure, now White's
so
making
far,
progress.
equal amount of bishops, but White's going to take f5, White's going to play f4. Those two connect past pawns just rolling. So a6, king f5, b4, and yeah, Black captured. And that's desperation, right? I mean, he decided to eliminate those two passed pawns, but too many white pawns are still on the board, so you can't really trade them all, and therefore White is winning. The White just won, yeah.
This is the last move of the game here. So Ganguly he was the winner of today's game against Nikolas Theodorou, so congratulations to him. And you know, can we just go right back to that Hans game? I'm really interested to see. This is the most action we've had in one of these games. Hey, look at that!
Jonathan, he played your moves.
Let's go.
Time for celebration. Knight h4, knight goes to f5.
So.
Yeah, and also it has to be said that one win is down to 5 minutes. Move 35 though, so they probably make it
five
through
more moves to go.
Through the time control, but yeah, still quite dangerous for Black. Not even sure what you do.
Because you want some plan to maybe win that d pawn back. I don't see how you do it. At least not so immediately.
So you want to take the pawn, therefore you
have to move the knight.
Have to kind of move or protect the knight, right?
Yeah,
protect the knight seems mission impossible because c6, queen takes c6, and you still cannot take e7. So that probably means by that point you're that desperate, you go like knight d4 or something, but then even c4 can be taken. No, so that's out of question. I don't know.
It's just not
Seriously,
easy.
like
It's
rook
really
a8,
not
rook
easy.
b8. Looks bad. Looks fairly bad.
All right.
So, do we get this interview of Hans Niemann today? Rook 8, by the way, was played. Yeah.
If we want an interview, we need to have a winner. So whoever chat is hoping to have an interview with in this game, maybe you're a big fan of Dai Van Nguyen as well. If we do have a winner in this one, obviously we will do our best to get you that interview. But yeah, this is looking very good for Hans.
Yep, and he continued with knight f5. So now
the pawn were played.
The pawn is safe and sound. You really can't play this because queen e6, and I'm afraid everything falls apart. So the knight's hanging, you know, h6 hanging, and yeah. By the way, g6. You might straight up take on h6 because the pawn is still kind of alive.
It's
you can take it.
This pawn
it's always,
is so strong.
Always the knight. Yeah, always the knight on b5, which is hanging. Yeah,
All
so
right.
it does seem to be...
All right, so this game does have kind of our full attention, but I also want to take just a minute to maybe check out the Oparin game. I believe maybe we have some exciting action there as well.
Okay, so move 39 after knight e5, bishop b6, knight c6 is what Oparin has played.
Okay, and this was another one of these pass pawn situations. Get past pawns. They seem to be very important.
Right. Well, I don't know if he kind of wins on the spot here. White,
knight c8 you can block with the bishop.
White's much better, of course, in many ways.
Pawn's so close. He's one square away.
How
do you get there?
It could be like a trivial way of winning. Knight c6, I'm threatening to win the piece.
So we have to block.
So bishop has to block and then just take it. And Black can't prevent knight c6 back. Yeah, so whatever Black does, it's knight c6 back, and then you push the b pawn, and then you take the bishop, and you win. So it's a funny setup that the pawn on d7, knight on c6, and then the b pawn, which will be moved forward, and Black can't do anything.
Absolutely, looking very nice for Grigoriy Oparin, who's getting ready to win this game.
Yeah, and he might just find another solution. I believe that there should be quite a few. Ganguly, meanwhile, Ganguly, we've mentioned he has already won.
Is there anything else while we're taking a look around?
Vidit with Yangyi. That's the one that probably won't see. Well, there is some excitement though still, right? F7 hanging, E5's weak. So more simplification, but usually, you know, Grandmasters, I mean, there are quite a few hints. Grandmasters, rook endgame, equal material. So I would bet on a draw.
You're betting on a draw
I'd
here.
bet on a draw in this one, yeah.
All right, and don't worry, we are here, we're live, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we see what the people want. Let's get back to the Hans Niemann game.
Yeah,
you know, we hear you loud and clear.
So rook a8, rook b8, so finally...
Okay, this was the idea, so defending the knight.
Yeah, finally the knight is guarded.
But will it be in time?
Will it be in time? Now, something like queen to h4 is another option, because you might have bishop h6 ideas. Meanwhile, yeah, we do have the result confirmed. Oparin has
he did manage
won.
to win that game. Fantastic. Congratulations to Oparin.
Yeah, I believe we might.
So you're
have
starting to look at like some
but-
sacrifices. Yeah, queen h4 is a very interesting move, and you really are threatening to take one of these two pawns.
Yeah, g7 or h6, right? And maybe black has to go back. We don't know.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, let's see first what Hans comes up with, because I feel like I don't know what the move is, but I feel like
you got the
there is-
Grandmaster tingle going on.
I can sense
Got a
that
little
there
spidey
is
sense?
something. Yeah, there is something very strong. This is like Beth Harmon, Vasily Borgo with the pawn on e7. I don't know if we. I don't recall the games. Yeah, I watched the series, but
Yeah.
the games is. I was trying to skip, to be honest.
You were skipping the games. You're a chess player. You skipped the chess part.
That's exactly why. That's exactly why. Yeah. Yeah, I think she's done an amazing job, acting as Ben Harmon. But still, you can tell if the person plays chess or not by the way, like say, Anya Taylor-Joy was pressing the clock.
You couldn't believe the acting, huh?
Yeah. So that, but that's I imagine like when we are watching something that I don't know some other sports, and then the professionals would be making laugh of it, and we don't believe, yeah.
Oh man.
All right, so back to the B tournament maybe, or no. I mean, okay, we have Hans. He's the move. He has 6 minutes. Let's just stay there. Let me try to read out.
I mean, we can try to figure out the absolute best continuation here for white, because I mean, there's queen e6, there's queen h4. Queen h4 really has my attention, but I'm just trying to work out what actually happens, like if knight g8, as you mentioned. I'm trying to find some sort of knockout blow.
To be perfectly honest, I'm looking for the way for white to introduce this rook into the game, and then, I mean, it'd be too fancy to work normally, but if this works, that'd be amazing, because you're kind of switching the attention or the I don't know, central, when all the action happens anyway, to the king side, and then black has rook on b8, knight on b5, which cannot possibly participate in defending the king. That means white has overwhelming advantage. So if black is forced to go knight g8 after queen h4, and if rook c4 actually works for white,
so you're suggesting maybe black needs to come up with something even better.
Yeah, but what do you even do?
Queen
like
queen
g6 possibly. Yeah, queen g6, because now the knight and the rook actually do stop the pawn, and queen is freed because knight on b5 is no longer hanging. Yeah, maybe that's the one, and maybe then queen h4 is not so clever. Okay, maybe queen h4 is not so clever. Now that I'm actually kind of figured out that e8 is not happening, maybe white's not as winning as we've originally thought. Yeah, there was still a cool idea though, like leave the rook, but.
And I have noticed we have Evan in the chat. He's suggesting if we do want to get our rook into the game, what if we started with like f4 with white? And I believe this idea, open the e file, open the f file, just open something up. And
I mean, if this happens, it's clearly beneficial for white. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, f4 doesn't look that bad at all.
Is there a way to close the position, or how does
perhaps black
deal with this?
Black should try to close everything, but then we are much more comfortable kind of playing queen e6, because we do get additional squares. Like whenever knights move, the bishop d4 will. Yeah, maybe white shouldn't rush and try for a checkmate, but play a position move like this. F4, bravo. That's okay. Evan simply kind of guessed Hans's move, and I believe.
Oh, okay. Look at that.
It's
if we all work together, we can all play like Hans.
Yeah, f4, yeah. What does black do
I mean,
then?
it's a very cool idea.
So d5 could be a better try.
Sure.
d5 attacking the queen. And if queen c2, then only now we play e4, and at least white queen is not on e6. Right. Okay.
Huh.
We'll see. We'll see. All of a sudden, this knight in b5 starts to make a lot of sense, right? No longer hanging, protecting c7, which is annoying for white. And yeah, white still yet to demonstrate how the rook is joining. It's after b5.
Yeah,
I wonder if
interesting.
he actually
was it
do
d5
something.
actually played? Was this the move, or was this analysis?
No, e4 was played.
E4 was just played. Okay, so here's where we are.
e4. Here I was happy with queen e6. Maybe there is a refutation to queen e6. I'm not clear. Queen e6, queen g6 once again, and black has this nasty threat of knight g4.
Oh.
And you might, okay, king h1. No, it's not the way chess played, right? No, it cannot be.
You never know. Sometimes it's that easy.
It can't be right. No, it can't be right. Bishop a7 allows queen into c7. Wait a second. Bishop a7.
Whoa.
Do we really want to do this?
Now you're thinking crazy.
No, that's too much. Even for Hans, this is too much. No, Hans goes g4.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so now this setup is kind of much more solid, right?
Yeah.
And then
The idea is g5.
if needed, maybe g5. Yeah, maybe g5. Yeah, g4. Yeah, like for now, perhaps it's just the way to consolidate everything, right? So to make sure that black won't have any tempi, say, playing queen d7 or queen g6,
Yeah.
the knight's carefully protected in advance. After g6, I believe still queen e6 is exceptionally strong.
Yeah, looks very nice.
So g6 is not a move. Yeah, g6, knight h6 as well, and then when you take it's g5 and it goes on and on.
And if d5, which seemed to be like most problematic in a lot of these lines.
Yeah, probably that's what he has to do. And then let's ask Hans.
Was this
Then
played?
that's
Is that, do we
no,
get to...
not yet, but well, queen c5 is one of the options. So we control d4, we guard d7 for
Sure.
a second time just in case. And maybe since we figured out now d5 knight is kind of, b5 knight rather, is an important defensive piece of black's position, then maybe we do not mind any longer trading this knight by going bishop d4 next move.
Okay.
While the bishop is inclined to do a lot of damage, so it will have to be taken, then queen takes, and imagine this position was, say, these guys are gone, queen is on d4, so white kind of has the perfect setup for the material that is left. Rook on c1 will be targeting c7, queen on d4, targeting g7, yeah. I still believe
It's interesting. I mean, because just like a moment ago, I kind of saw this, you know, exciting. It looked like maybe Hans was pulling away with it, but we're starting to see all these like defensive resources for black. Do you think, at this moment, do you think it's the case that maybe black just has sufficient resources? There's no real problems?
No. I
is
feel
black still in a lot of trouble?
I still feel like white's position is much better. It's just that it seemed that maybe a few moves left, and now it will still
Sure.
require some technique and more pressure and so on. But I still believe white's position is much better. Let me check. Much better is 0-3.
Oh, you cheated!
Well,
You cheated in the
0-3.
Hans game. Now we know.
0-3 by
All right, so
by,
a very,
by
very
modern
small advantage for
standards.
Hans.
By modern standards, 0-3 is considered to be much better.
This is plus 0.3 for Hans. All right.
Not
All
much.
right, so
yeah.
obviously we'll be keeping our eye on this one all throughout. But what else? Is there anything else on the agenda?
Yeah, so we have 2 games currently in progress in the A group. That's Hans's game.
Sure.
And
What else do we got?
Vidit against Yangyi, which is...
Okay, approaching.
You guessed it right. It's probably a draw, right?
Sure. Is there anything interesting going on in the B group?
The B group. Let's check the B
Usually
group.
This is where we have all of our decisive
What's
games.
interesting in the B group, not a single result yet.
Well,
not a single
they're
result
trying to win.
yet. Right, looking at my kind of wristwatch, I see that everyone had to pass the time trouble.
Sure,
the time control, the
they've all
40
passed move
moves.
40.
Yeah, and that's a first for us, I think, when not
There
a
have been
single
a couple
game.
of quick games, some 20-move games.
Yeah,
or so.
usually, yeah, like not all the games survived.
Sure.
survived move 40. So today is an exceptional day. And what's the most the key matchup is
you have a gunner.
Christopher Yu against Raunak Sadhwani.
Just to remind any new audience members, Raunak Sadhwani is sitting on 3 out of 3, our only contender with a perfect score in either group.
Yeah, and Christopher Yu started with a quiet draw, but then he won 2 in a row, and he's just half a point behind, right?
Yeah, so this is a huge one for the standings. So when we saw it, we actually thought Raunak was doing pretty well, but that was quite a long time ago.
Yeah,
has anything changed?
See, well, if something has changed, it's probably still for the better for Black, right? Because I think there've been quite a lot of moves in this time. Troubled 92, Black eventually traded on b5, went b6. h5 though, h5 is a very pleasant move to play because very often you do have enough compensation for an exchange when positions feature opposite colored bishops.
Interesting.
And yeah, no, but seriously, that's I was surprised that it's not a universally acknowledged fact, but
I've actually not even heard it. Do we need to put this in the rule book?
No, but really, not in the rule book, but that's a very common
beginner's
pattern.
Guide to
very
chess
common
book?
pattern that very often, like I say, your opponent has 2 bishops, you have bishop and a knight, and then you are planning to sacrifice the exchange. Then do it for the bishop of the color of your bishop, so that the opposite colored bishop's left. Because now look, I mean, with this bishop, say, elsewhere, on the light squares, it would be able to guard those light squares for Black. Now, like h5
How have I gone this far without this basic rule?
Untouchable, and also if ever, say, knight gets, via f4 to g6, that'd be quite dangerous. Bishop c3, rook c2. And also, look, White very conveniently has, say, quote-unquote, weak pawns on the light squares, so can be guarded by the bishop, cannot be attacked by the bishop. And this guy, for now, he's relatively useless. The bishop on c3, it blocks some files and so on. By the way, I'd prefer, if it was possible at all, to go like rook d3 and keep the rook on the open file, because now it's somewhat blocked. Yeah, bishop back to e5, rook c6. So that's what White wanted. Yeah, a very beautiful, very nice, beautiful outpost on c6. Whenever Black captures, of course, White's planning to take with the pawn. I think as of now, it looks like White has full compensation. It's already a pawn for an exchange, right? It's a very nice outpost on c6. Safe king, unsafe king, if anything. Like light squares, no attack so far, but always has to watch out for light squares.
Sure. Not immediately obvious how Black would even make progress here.
Yeah, like if you're thinking White might be better in a practical sense, because he's not worse. Right? I mean, how is Black supposed to win this one?
Yeah, that's what I'm
it's not clear.
trying to figure out here.
Right, it's not clear. Like White plays king g2, king g1, or for that matter, plays king g2 and just shuffles around. And how do you actually make progress with Black? Because if you think of it like, perhaps the real, and it's also not real, but the potential weakness in the f2 pawn. How do you get to f2 pawn?
Exactly.
Yeah, so White's very solid.
All right.
White's very solid here.
Definitely check this out. And you know what? Chad has been wondering. We're always paying attention to you guys. We're here on Twitch and YouTube, and they want to know, what are these guys playing for? What is the prize fund for this event? Well, in the A group, they are competing for a total prize fund of $22,000. It's $6,000 for the winner, $4,000 for second, $3,000 for third, and you can see it goes down. Everybody is walking away with at least $1,000, but it's that $6,000 prize at the top that everybody is fighting for. And in our B group, we have a prize fund of $14,000. It is $4,000 for the winner, $2,500 for second place, $2,000 for third place, and everyone will walk away with at least $500. Now, I have heard that maybe we have seen a few more moves in the Hans Niemann game, so we can hurry back and see if there's any exciting action in that game.
Let me go back to Hans's game. 2 queens on the board is what I can see.
So the pawn's promoted. Yeah. What? Okay. So how did this? We missed too much. We need to see every single move.
Honestly, confusing because look,
G4 played.
Queen to G8 was played, and after G4, if you remember, we've kind of cheated a little bit, and I checked the evaluation and.
I don't know if you saw the move.
What I've seen, Queen G8 was the only move to keep the evaluation that low. So the second best move, which I'm
very nice find,
which I don't remember which it was, but the second best move was already like plus 1.5 for White.
All right, it was a tough move, but Black did find it.
And Hans went with E8 Queen.
Interesting.
Which is somewhat confusing. If you ask me, okay, I can quickly see that, yeah, rook takes, white takes the knight, knight takes, white apparently just takes the pawn, tries to discover the attacks and so on. But what happens if queen takes? And that's exactly what was played. So if queen takes, and Hans is on like on seconds, rook g1.
Oh, and he's going to play g5.
Wow, honestly, this looks like he kind of went all in. Yeah, g5 is a threat.
Is this deflection meaningful? He got to keep a queen on c4. He really wanted to keep that queen, but
yeah, perhaps. But how serious is the attack? It's not. I imagine him playing g5 in this position would be really serious, but
yeah.
That's a good question. Was queen takes e4 possible? Queen takes c4 possible instead of?
Okay.
Well, but white has everything is guarded, right? So he could. Let me see.
Yeah,
take the rook.
You want a good square.
And a check, and even like king to g1, and no checks for now. The bishop is guarded by the knight, and white's a rook up. Wow. Yeah, so probably that's why.
So maybe this one doesn't.
Probably that's why you take the other queen. Okay. So what I was saying here that if it's white to move and he plays g5, then I fully believe white has a very strong attack.
Sure.
But now
so I guess the question is, what does black play exactly here?
Yeah, I mean, he can try d5, shutting down this diagonal at the very least. He could, could be, like go d5. Queen moves, and then you go, say, queen d7, targeting the knight. So once again, g5 for now is not possible because knight's hanging.
Yeah.
So it feels like black's going to get a few tempi in his defensive setup. Like he played the queen d7, and then probably bring the rook to, say, g8 or something. Yeah, I guess something went terribly wrong for Hans.
Yeah.
And d5's on the board. D5's on the board, and that's move 40, so yeah.
So the players will get 30 additional minutes.
They'll slow down from here,
And black is a pawn up. If you're not getting checkmated, you're a pawn up. So we actually have the very interesting discussion that you always have in chess. Is there somebody attacking you, or did you just win a pawn?
Well, Hans is not impressed. Well, actually, queen c5 relatively quickly.
Okay.
Move 41.
So this is where they might go into a little bit of a think because they've just received additional time. And I also want to take this time to get our first interview of the day. We have Tracy Stewart, our very own Tracy Stewart, who's going to be bringing us the interviews today. This is her first one. So let's see the interview with Surya Ganguly.
And hello, I'm Tracy Stewart with the St. Louis Chess Club, and we're here with Grandmaster Surya Ganguly. And he's going to be here to talk about his game against Grandmaster Nikolas Theodorou. And welcome, St. Louis.
Hey, thanks. So yeah, today's game was pretty interesting. I played something that I have never played before in my life. It was Sicilian defense, and I played Alapin. I have never played this move before. I always played knight f3 or some games knight c3. But anyways, I'm making a course on Chessable, so on this Alapin, so I had some pretty decent work, and we were following a very decent male line. All of this has been played before, and we got to the following position, which is one of the mainstream, and I went queen e2 here. As far as I remember, queen f6 is kind of only way for black to play, to give the pressure on the f3 pawn. And I was pretty surprised when my opponent played e5. I think he confused with some order because after e5, I don't know what the computer says here, but after knight a3, I didn't see a good way how he can defend this pawn. I mean, of course, he can play queen f6, but then we transpose into the queen f6 line. In the game, he played g6, and I just did not see a single compensation. I mean, I just take this pawn. He has to take here, and he played f5. I believe here I had a much easier win. In the game, I played bishop a4, but if I would play d4, I think it is just collapsing instantly. This is under attack, and if he plays this, I have rook e8 coming. If he plays something like queen d5, which is what I briefly saw, but then again, bishop f6 and bishop b3, it's just completely winning. I was unsure. Both d4 and bishop f4 both looked winning to me, but only once I played bishop a4, I realized, okay, I'm still winning, but he gets to exchange the queens, and then the game is kind of it's going to go for a long time. So anyway, we got this position. Then later in the game, okay, if he takes here, for example, then I play d4, and his rook is sort of getting trapped. And I pick up his rook. So that's why he did not take on f3. He played rook d6, okay, d4. Well, if he can take here, but then again, bishop f4, and the rook doesn't have good square. So he went bishop g7. And here I like my move, actually. Initially, I was not 100% convinced how I'm going to make a progress, but then I realized that he doesn't have a move. So just king g2. And this king g2 is a very useful move. Like every time the knight comes to e5, my f3 pawn is protected. So I'm just improving my position. And it turns out this rook does not have a good square. If it goes to f8, he has to watch out for some such ideas. If it goes to e8, I have bishop f4 pin. And finally, if it goes to d8, then I have bishop to g5, again gaining a tempo. In other words, it means he cannot move the rook. He would love to move the king, but then I take, and then bishop f4 comes with some sort of pin again. So after king g2, he played the move h6. He's also waiting. And now I sort of insisted him to take on d4, otherwise I'll just take on c6. And finally, my bishop comes with the tempo. I get the pawn. And he was hoping for some opposite color bishop endgame. But the problem is the rooks are not getting exchanged. So after the trade, he goes rook e6. I have check. He cannot go here because of rook d1 check. So he must go to b8 and rook c5. And now I'm threatening bishop d7. I was almost sure that he would play rook d8 and we will get a position like this, which felt pretty much winning to me. I'll either pick up this pawn or make him play f4. In either way, my king will eventually come to g4, or I make him play h5 and pick up the g5 pawn. So anyway, he played the move rook c8, which at first sight, it kind of looks like a blunder, because I can take, and give a check. He cannot go here because of bishop d7, so he has to go king d8. I give a check. Again, these two squares are not possible because of either way, he's losing one of these pieces. So he has to come here, rook d7, king f8, but he's surviving here. And even after rook b6, this could even be a draw. So I didn't take on c8. I played the move rook d5 with the idea of bishop d7. It's pretty strong. Played rook c2. And now a very simple move, bishop a4. He cannot take here because I give two checks and I pick up the bishop. He went back. And this moment, I was super tempted to play bishop d7 because I realized his idea is rook into e5. And I thought he might have missed bishop f5. And it's a very funny move. I mean, he can take either of my rooks, but I'm giving a check and it's getting mated. So he's obliged to play rook c7. There is just no other move. And I was calculating check here, rook c1 check. He cannot take because of mate. He has to come here. I give rook d6 check, king f5. And I don't know. I mean, I thought it should be good initiative, but it's also like burning the bridges. If it is not made, then I'm not getting anything. So why to go for this combination at all when I have a much simpler move f4? I'm protecting the pawn. I'm threatening bishop d7 next. So oh, the game did not end here. There is a delay. Okay. So the game continued with he took here, and I played king f3. I'm trying to take the pawn. He played rook c4, attacking my bishop. I played b3, basically arguing that if he goes here, then I have check, and taking the bishop, so he cannot do that. He played rook c2, so that if I take, he will take here, but now check. I'm exchanging one rook, and my king is coming to f4. He tried to trap the bishop. I took here, and b4. My bishop is getting out. His last desperate try was to take here and give rook f7 check. And I was thinking where to put my king. I can technically put it anywhere, and after this I have rook c5 and rook c2. But while I was thinking, he realized it makes no sense to continue. I mean, I can put the king anywhere, and then there is rook c5, rook c2, and a piece up. So yeah, I think it's apart from missing d4, it was pretty much a clean game, and I was a bit lucky in the opening where he he blundered at a very early stage, and then there was no fight.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us and taking this time to talk about your game. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and good luck tomorrow.
Thanks a lot.
That was Grandmaster Surya Ganguly getting his first win of the tournament, and with that, that brings him to 1.5 out of 4 points overall. A big congratulations to our winner of that game. Now, Miro, I can see you still got your eyes on the Hans Niemann game. If there been any updates, or have they kind of reached some sort of stopping point?
Well, there've been a few more moves. After d5, queen c5, queen to e6 was the square. Van Nguyen decided to put the queen on, not to d7 but to e6, but with the same kind of slowing down idea. So target denied, and if white ever tries g5, for now the knight's hanging. So queen to e6, and a move like rook g2, you can probably guess that something went wrong, because like when you play e7, e8, and basically sacrificing your pride and glory, the e7 pawn.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he actually missed something, or he thought he had something, or if it was... I just still haven't understood this exact decision here when he just gave the pawn away.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, you're probably not happy trading the queens, but isn't there like some other move and not e8? Yeah, perhaps he hallucinated or thought he was winning on a spot or something.
Yeah, and again, this was like right before, this was in the height of time pressure here too.
Move 38 or something. Yeah, it could have been that Hans literally was like on seconds and
he just had to play something.
And
if you need to make 2 moves, you can predict a couple moves there very easily. But it's just
still E7, E8 is not the fastest move to make, right? I mean, you're playing with white, so apparently the clock is at your left. So move the queen, like queen c2. That's what I would have done. Yeah, and then you have to move the pawn, put the queen on the board. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So currently it looks like black just enjoys his extra pawn.
Oh, okay. So does Hans now actually need to switch then? Is he going into like consolidation phase?
Yeah, that's important.
You gotta just kind of hang on there now.
That's important. Yeah, and we have one more result, which is a draw for Vidit and Yangyi.
Okay, again.
And last time we've seen it.
Our 2 highest rated competitors.
Last time we've seen it, it was I know, not here. They actually played a bunch of moves very
I can see
quickly.
there's a lot of moves that were played from this position.
Yeah, remember something like that, and even further. Yeah, that's one we've seen for the last time, and it turns out it's fairly simple. So b6, king b7, and then black will kind of push his a pawn, but he's not fast enough because white does exactly the same, exchanges black's h pawn, and he has a pass pawn of his own, right?
They played a lot of moves from here, which is I guess surprising.
I mean, just to bring the game to a logical conclusion. So basically, the argument is that each side will have to give the rook for the pawn, and that's the way to finish the game in a draw. I believe, that has to be.
Perhaps not a surprising result. The 2 highest rated competitors in this, Yangyi and Vidit, have both made a draw. Is there anything else that is still going on?
So A group, it's Hans Niemann only.
Sure.
Hans Niemann only show. And the B group, not a single result still.
Wow.
That's scandalous. That's...
Well, great. I mean, that gives us quite a lot that we can still take a look at. Maybe we can start here with this game with Christopher Yu and tournament leader Raunak Sadhwani.
Yeah, so that was like right before they reached the time control. This move h5, which I was
kind of wondering,
praising.
Like, how does black make any progress here? Was kind of where we were left this one.
Well, it doesn't look like black's play. It's rather white tries to make progress. Knight d3, queen e7. There was a funny suggestion in the chat, which is, I believe, very strong if it works, but it is very kind of really time consuming to get this knight to h4 and then g6. Well, this didn't happen, but instead white goes bishop c4, arguing that maybe the queen's gonna go to d5 in some cases. Yeah, if any side is better, it's white, you know. Yeah, I think. Yeah, but once again, since they've reached move 40, it's move 43 currently for black to play. This can last for quite a while.
Interesting. And I just want to give a big shout out. We have a competitor from the U.S. Women's Championship, Talia Cervantes, in the chat, and she is wanting to know, can you press with black in the Jacobson game versus Lenderman? Is there something interesting going on
Let's see. Lender. That's the one that I've declared like being winning for For Lenderman,
Yeah, I mean,
long
to my
time
like,
ago.
I don't know. I never thought it was like so easy. Is this? Look at this. This is kind of weird. Is this like a fortress or how do you make progress here?
Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit because somewhere here it did seem to be fairly easy, and I think what Black has done. I don't know if he was like.
Would you have done something different here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you want to play h5 here, because he ended up in an awkward spot that he can't really go on the offensive. He has perhaps no time to double the rooks on the second rank because some counter threats of say knight e6 and also the h5 pawns always targeted. So what ended up happening is, yeah, he decided to put the rook on f5, and that's actually awkward, right? Rook c6. Not sure what Lenderman's looking for. So to play g5 then at some point. Yeah, it could be still, but he would be much better off like swapping a pair of rooks early on. So now it is kind of problematic because you have to guard h5 all the time, right? And then white annoys you whenever king h6 played rook c8. So
to my mind, I think this is very hard to win with Black. Like, what is the plan? How do you even do it?
So now perhaps you're actually looking at kind of a good moment to play g5. Okay, let's try it. I just play g5 straight up. Point being, like, if say white trades, captures h5, I want to play rook a2, and I'm not saying it's winning. It's probably just not, honestly. You know, Jonathan.
I'm saying this is hard to win
also
with
like check and knight g4. No, so that doesn't work at all. Yeah, never mind. G5 is not. Yeah, it could be. In fact, that's a hard thing to win. But that's very often the case with this knight against rook on one wing, because I remember. Well, I ended up winning, but a completely drawish position, which started as like completely winning for me, because I thought, okay, what could possibly go wrong? Let's move some pawns, let's do this, and then ended up having 2 pawns each, and I cannot make progress with the rook. I mean, in order to make progress, I have to trade like one pair of pawns, and the other one is always targeted. And I managed to trick my opponent, but
it can be so tricky even when it's a full exchange.
All right, but I think this is anyway. This is kind of a move in the right direction. So he has to activate both rooks. He has to try to pin white down, sort of, with the attack on f2 square.
I guess if you can somehow set up that dream position, like, okay, the knight will be on h3 defending, but black gets the double.
Wide, let's say
how do we continue from there?
White passes, and then and the knight on h3.
Sure,
yeah, that's right. So now once again we are kind of. We want to organize g5, but how to do that?
Sure,
right?
I mean, sure. Just give you, this is the dream here for black.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough, it's hard. So do this, and then it's easier said than done, trade the rook. Because I can see, like, trading the rooks would actually help, right?
So yeah, we've seen that white has avoided
like
this
getting
trade.
the king
White's
to
had the
f5
option
or
for this.
something, yeah. But of course, like if I end up with the knight on h3, which is quite passive, at least I'm probably smart enough not to trade the rooks, and I have enough files to run away. Yeah.
Okay, so this one, I mean, this is going to be a tough battle, I'm thinking. I don't know even if black gets an optimal setup.
Does it mean that we won't have a single result? I mean, a show almost like coming to an end. We probably have to wait for a few more moves at least in this Niemann's game. So I
think chat will riot if we don't stay with the Hans game a little bit.
Yeah. Let's quickly run through the beat tournament games just to see where we stand. So that's the one from the leaders. Christopher Yu against Raunak Sadhwani. Then Cristian Chirila. All right. Well, they do have a crazy position over there. So Cristian is a pawn up. He has 3 connected passed pawns, but they are not where you want your passed pawns to be. Or maybe he confused and planning to promote it that way. Now, if I'm perfectly serious, if I'm like really serious, I guess black has to have enough pawn to play with the h pawn and e pawn. So I'm not even sure. Yeah, like rook h4, black puts the rook behind the passed pawn, and Yeah, I don't think White risks much. I don't think
Okay.
White can lose, but like winning with White will be problematic.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that's the one. Then Mikaelyan and Kantor. Okay, here these guys are not planning to go any easy on the commentators. Still, everything's hanging. A lot of stuff. Even if, yeah, give me something like 2 pawns each,
Sure.
a rook each, and preferably on one wing so that I can declare it a draw. No, I mean they can't. Yeah, it's
All right, making us
absolutely-
work for our money.
Every game, everything's hanging. Okay, Black just played d65. Black just played d65, and what's the debate here? Like if I just take, Black's probably not very unhappy, right? Knight d6. Yeah, well, still slightly better structure for White, but whenever Black gets active, so perhaps no big thing can happen. Yeah, is bishop b7 ever an idea? I'm just thinking. Yeah, maybe like just take and go bishop b7. It's a very ugly way to attack the pawn, and maybe I don't even threaten to take because of rook e7, but at least like to create some tension. And once again, yeah, and then Black just goes knight d6. If you want to take because after rook a7 you're losing a piece. Yeah, maybe it's just a draw then. Okay, not draw, but an equal position, right?
Huh. Okay, so I think there's still probably a lot of life here in this one.
Yeah.
I expect to see quite a lot of more moves played in this game.
Yeah, and also there is this one, Harutyunyan against Kadric, move 45. And the last time we've been to this game, it was an exchange on e5, I'm guessing, right? So bishop e5, exchange on e5, h4, somewhere around here. Yep. Yeah, so the knight went to c3, as we were discussing. Yeah, but the thing with knight on c3, it stands there nicely, but what you would like this knight to do is actually to attack the queen to unblock the d-pawn, and in this regard, the knight on c3 is not doing much, strangely. Right, it's kind of hanging around on c3, and usually it would be much more efficient with more pieces on the board because it disrupts, it takes away squares. But for this specific material where we have, I think White has just kind of enough space for all the pieces, right? And let's see how this unfolds. Queen to e5, rook a7, so White even starts to be a little bit kind of ambitious. So, and knight has to leave. King g2, bishop a4, yeah, who knows? I don't think White's playing for win here, but it seems that the most dangerous, seems that the worst part is kind of over. And yeah, and if I'm not mistaken,
I guess we've just had word that we have a result in the Hans Niemann game.
Hans Niemann game, seriously? I don't have it just yet. Queen e6, rook g2, knight d7. Queen b2, queen f6, Hans captured on f6.
And my understanding here is that I guess both of these players have agreed to a draw in this position. Does that sound correct to you? You can't believe it?
I don't know. Trying to count them pawns, and black has 5 and White has 4, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Right, so knight takes. What could possibly be the continuation from? Yeah, maybe some g5, and then he gets the initiative. And if he really, if he captured on f6 and Black is thinking, then perhaps it is kind of came along with the draw offense, since we are getting a little bit.
Why is Black not playing on here? I don't even understand. Okay. We've unfortunately received some bad information from.
So that's just the position that they have.
They're still playing chess,
draw, right?
So
it's not a draw.
Forget everything. It was all fake news. Apologies. But,
Okay.
I guess these guys are still playing. So.
Okay, and then it explains why he's thinking, because in fact g7 takes f6 might not be that appealing, but that's a viable alternative, I would guess. Right, this g5 is not that scary anymore. knight e7 looks like attacks the pawn in an awkward way, but black actually will move forward, so that's not an option. I mean, for a second I thought like knight e7, how do you defend the d5 pawn? But you do not defend d5, you just make it that your d5 pawn turns into the d4 pawn, and then e3, d3,
Exactly,
and then they just go up the board. Yep, so there is that. So the position is white captured on f6, and Hans' opponent continues to think. So right, one game in the A section and no results.
Literally
means
no results.
Five games going.
Okay, all right. I got a full promise. The game is a draw. Now, I don't believe anything anyone's saying in my ear anymore, but I have heard that this is officially a draw.
Okay, so this is officially a draw, and so what do we do then? It's the end of but by the time it's supposed to be like, we're supposed to be wrapping up the show.
Well, yeah.
We do have the A group all done.
Perfect.
But B group...
So we still have the entire B group.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? It is a 90-minute show, and they're throwing it up. All right, they're kicking us out of here. We got the standings for Group A, which is now... we did see that one game that you see there as pending was a draw, which means that we now have Vidit at 3.5, Illia Nyzhnyk on 2.5, Grigoriy Oparin at 2.5. Van Nguyen now actually will be leaping up in 2-3, meaning he is now tied for the lead, as you can see there. Or maybe he's at 2.5.
Yeah, he's already on 2.5.
That would make a little bit more sense.
Yeah,
so we still have a clear leader in the A section. It is Vidit Gujrathi. And now we can see it again. On 2.5, we got Illia Nyzhnyk, Grigoriy Oparin, and Van Nguyen. At 2 points, we got Yangyi and Hans Niemann. Below that, we got Nijat Abasov, Aram Hakobyan, Surya Ganguly, and Nikolas Theodorou. In the B group, we also have a clear winner in the B group, even though, again, nothing has been finalized. There's still quite a lot going on there, but they're exactly the same as when we came in. We got Raunak Sadhwani at the top of the leaderboard, playing Christopher Yu, who's sitting on 2.5. So a lot of interesting things. We'll have some major updates when we come back tomorrow. Reminder again that tomorrow is daylight savings time is ending here on our show, so it's going to feel like the show is starting 1 hour later than it did today. So make sure you double check very carefully about the start time of tomorrow's round. Again, make sure you follow us with the hashtag #FallChessClassic. You can watch all of our games live on US Chess Champs. We're here on Twitch. We're on here on YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us, having such a fun game. And Miro, do you have any final thoughts about what we've seen today?
Yes, I do. B group. These are real sportsmen.
Yeah, they're the ones still playing.
Fighting.
They're still in it. But we're out of here. So we will see you guys. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys come back tomorrow for another amazing day.
This has been a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. Any reproduction or distribution of this content without the express written consent of the St. Louis Chess Club is prohibited.